Hey, what's up guys? It's Robster and it's match day. This is a team selection video for game week 6. A quick recap of what happened in game week 5, and to be fair, it went quite well. Yes, I was a bit reliant on Saar and Salah with most of my points, but the likes of Duffy and Livramento coming on from the bench really gave me a big boost, and I'm really happy about that. It's not every week that you'll have the likes of Antonio, Trent and Torres all completely miss out. So it was a bit of a freak weekend last weekend, but I still got 71 points and I still had a green arrow. So we're sitting around 900,000 on the board and we're climbing quickly, and we're hoping that that can continue. So going into match week 6, the fixtures, wow, what a weekend of footy. Chelsea versus City. This could be a very early on in the season title decider. Obviously it won't decide the title this early on in the season, but it can shift momentum really, really quickly about what is to come. Going forward, looking at the rest of the fixtures, notably the North London derby. Yes, both teams aren't as good as they probably should be, or as the stature of their club that they are, but it's still a North London derby and they still have quality there. Arsenal have struggled to score and Spurs have struggled to score too. Both teams have really struggled. Arsenal have scored 2 goals in 5 matches and Spurs only 3. Combined 5 goals in 10 matches. A ridiculous amount of low scoring from both teams. Harry Kane is not on form. Aubameyang is not on form. They need goals. Both teams need goals. So to me, and it's a derby, so to me it's screaming like a 0-0 draw. So that's going to come into my thinking going into team selection. Quickly heading into my current team, I still haven't made a fixed transfer as of yet, with a couple hours to go, because I'm still a bit unsure. And I'll take you through my team right now to make you understand why. Looking at my team at this very moment, if I was to stick with no transfers for this weekend, this is how it would line up. Sanchez in goal, doubling up with Duffy as Brighton looked to secure a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. Yes, Crystal Palace scored the 3 goals against Spurs, but are they a great attacking team? I don't know. I'm hoping Brighton's defense can really keep it out. So keeping Duffy in the team is still a question mark for me at this very moment. Alexander-Arnold against Brentford, and Brentford have struggled in front of goal. They scored 2 against Wolves last weekend, but they haven't looked such an attacking threat. Tony and Mbeumo link up well, but they aren't a free-flowing, high-scoring team. So that's a very big pick of hopefully keeping a clean sheet, and let's hope that Trent is actually back from his illness and that he can get onto the end of an assist and a clean sheet hopefully. So this is a big weekend for him after blanking last weekend. Semedo, I have to keep faith. Against Southampton, who have been rather up and down. One week they look really bad, and then the next week they draw 0-0 against City. So it's going to be a very unpredictable game in that sense. And Wolves have also been unpredictable. They look really good when their play is really good, but they haven't really done much actually. And then the pick I just mentioned, Ben White. Both teams have looked defensively rather solid, except for Spurs in their last 2 games. They conceded 3-0 and 3-0, but before that they had 3 clean sheets in a row. Looking at Arsenal, back-to-back clean sheets. And if you look at the goal-scoring output of both teams, like I just mentioned, Arsenal only scored 2 goals the whole season, and Spurs only scored 3 goals the whole season. So both teams are struggling in front of the goal. So I don't want to make this prediction now, and then all of a sudden it turns into a 3-3 thriller. But it's screaming to me like both teams would want a point more than to lose against their rival. So I think Ben White is a real possibility of keeping a clean sheet there. But I'm still a bit undecided about Duffy and Ben White, as I have Torres and Livramento on my bench who are real possibilities. Wolves have also struggled to score, so is keeping Livramento on the bench a good choice because they could keep a clean sheet against Wolves. So I'm still a bit undecided, but I'm happy to have that dilemma. I'm happy to have people on the bench that I have to consider. Should I bring them in? Should I not bring them in? Because weekends like last weekend can very easily happen, and someone all of a sudden on match day just is ill or doesn't feel well, and then they have to drop out. And then you have reliable people on the bench that can come in. Moving on to midfield, Jota blanking in the recent weeks. Him against Brentford and Salah, they really need to pay off. It's a big weekend for me for Jota. And the reason why I haven't been like the rest of the people and made the big trade from Torres to someone else like everyone else did after last weekend, is because at this moment I have Torres and Jota. I have a double up of minute concerns in the future. So I have to be very careful about making a quick rash decision of taking Torres out now. Meanwhile, maybe Jota gets completely dropped next weekend and Torres is just continually back in for their good fixture run. If you look in here, It's two very tough games, but then it's Burnley, Brighton, and Crystal Palace. So if Torres still keeps his place for those 3 games, it looks really, really good for him. And if you look at Jota, blanking in the last 3 games, Chelsea is not a bad blank to have, but the last 2 games against Leeds and Crystal Palace, you expected some output. And now it's against Brentford, the third of 3 really good games. He has to get a goal or an assist at minimum. If it's another blank for him, and he's looking to play against City, and then after that, it's the international break, and Firmino's likely to then be fully back. If he blanks against Brentford, there's a very big possibility that Diego Jota will be the transfer out, and I might stay a bit of faith with Torres. But finishing off midfield, Ismail Sarr. 2 goals last week against Norwich, and now they're playing at home against the fellow relegation struggling team, Newcastle. Newcastle have been up and down. Last week, and only conceding 1 against an attacking Leeds, but in general, the defense has been quite shocking. Let's see if Ismail Sarr can get on the end of it. Again, he is the key man for Watford, and he comes onto the end of the big chances for them. He's the focal point. Scoring 2 goals against Norwich, he's going to be the main reason if they avoid relegation. It's going to be 3 Ismail Sarr at this moment. Going on to the front 3, and Antonio is back. Some people are calling to be his captain option, especially with Leeds' problems. But at this very moment, I don't think so. There is still a little bit of a risk going into that. And the reason for that is, well, Ronaldo's playing Aston Villa, and Salah's playing Brentford. So why would you not pick one of those 2 big hitters in easier fixtures and instead go rely on Antonio, who could maybe not be in the best of form after missing out last week? So is his form going to carry on? Let's hope so, but there is a slight risk, and I saw last weekend, if there's any risk at all, don't make the captaincy call on that person. Any risk. If there's any reason you can think of to not make someone your captain, don't do it. Stick to the reliable Salah, stick to the reliable Ronaldo. Your premium players are in your team because of the captaincy availability. Finishing off strikers, Jimenez needs to come off now. I brought him in for this really good fixture run, and I will keep faith with him. Southampton, Newcastle, Villa, Leeds, Everton, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Norwich, Burnley. You can't get a better fixture run almost if you had to select it yourself. If you had to handpick a selection for the next 8 game weeks, you can't choose a better one. The next 8 or 9 weeks, you can't select a better run of fixtures. So yes, he hasn't gotten to the end of anything in the last 5 games, but he's still the focal point. And if you look at the ICT ranks for forwards, he's number 1 in creativity. So he is really involved in the play, setting up big chances. He makes a pass. A lot of key passes he's made, almost assists because other people couldn't finish. And in the previous game, he got into the end of quite a few chances, but really good saves stopped him. So I'm keeping faith in Jimenez, and his overall play has looked really good. The eye test has been there. Yes, 5 games, no output is concerning for most people, but on the eye test, he's looked really, really good. I'm keeping faith on him. For these 8 or 9 games, he's going to do really well. And then Ronaldo, you can't talk about him too much. 2 goals or 3 goals in 2 games, brilliant. And now they're playing at home against Villa, who has looked a bit leaky this season. Previous game, they kept a really good clean sheet against Everton, but other games in the season against the likes of Newcastle and those, they haven't looked too good defensively. So Ronaldo could exploit that, and I very much expect him to score another goal against Aston Villa in the early kickoff too. But the big decisions for me is, do I make a transfer? And that's where we're coming to the team selection. At this very moment, this is my team for this weekend. I'll show you why I think so. This is a possibility of what I was thinking the whole time. Like most people, Torres was a big doubt. I was going to bring in Rafinha. Then I still have 1.4 to play with, which allows me to move from someone like White on to Reece James when he comes back after their fixture runs turn. Or Alonso even, because I'll have 5.8 then. So I can still afford Marcos Alonso. So I wanted to move to a premium defender with the remaining funds. But the big thing is Leeds' form and the injury risk. He's got a 50% chance of playing with a hip injury. He came off in the previous game. Bamford is also out. The actual person he's looking to assist the whole time. So he's not looking like having a proper strike partner. Rodrigo will probably play there, and he isn't an out-and-out goal scorer. So yes, his fixture run looks really, really good. But I would rather wait. If I wanted him, let the West Ham fixture go. The next 4 are actually even better than the West Ham game. So the West Ham game is slightly tougher. Yes, it is at home, so they do have that advantage. But the 4 games after that, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, and Norwich, those are the real fixtures you want to target. So therefore, I'm still very much undecided. I want to see him come through this weekend, maybe play, and hopefully they form terms. Hopefully Bamford's back, the suspensions may be finished, Ayling comes back from injury, and the team becomes a little bit more settled. And then I can put my faith in Rafinha for the next few games coming forward. Something else I've been thinking about, as I mentioned earlier, about Jota. If I take Jota out and I put someone like McCarthy in his place, then I've got the funds to free up to get Lukaku. I'll have the big three premiums of Lukaku, Salah, and Ronaldo playing in a 4-3-3 formation with Salah, Torres, and Sarr. With Allen and McCarthy on the bench, who play every minute anyway, so they are reliable if they need to come in. But Salah, Torres, Sarr, Lukaku, Jimenez, Ronaldo up top, and then I'll play Trent, Semedo, generally White, and then one of Duffy or Livramento every week. It's not bad. Yes, I would not want to rely on 4 of those 5 defenders. I would possibly want to get from White up to the likes of Reece James, where I can have 3 premium defenders and have to pick one of the other 2. I want to have question marks on other ones, so that's something in my dilemma. I could possibly move Torres on for another 5 million guy. Let's say I move on to Gallagher, for example, or Demarai Gray, which will free up about 1.3 million in that sense over there, which I can then move White to the some like of Reece James. So that is a possibility, or Duffy to the likes of Shaw. There is that possibility. So that's something I'm really thinking about, because you have to jump on the fixture turn after this weekend for Chelsea. It looks really, really good. So that's something I'm really keeping in mind, and that's maybe why this weekend I'm going to save my transfer. So at this very moment, I'm going to stick to this, and at the end of this week, I've got the double transfer, the Chelsea fixtures turn. Should I move Jota off to MacArthur, bring in Lukaku for Antonio? Antonio is playing really well, and he's been in good form this season, but Lukaku is a monster, and he is really terrorizing defenses, and he can score a ton of goals. Antonio is on form, but you can't rely on that all season. Lukaku, I believe, will destroy teams all season long. So that's why, for those fixture turns, I feel like you need to get Lukaku into your team. So is the Jota to MacArthur and Antonio to Lukaku the move? Well, let's see at the end of this week. Is simply moving Torres to Rafinha and then waiting another week, maybe the move? I believe making a rush decision now, just because I see lots of other people making big moves, is not the move to make. If you look at other people's teams that have Bamford and have Ayling in their team, there's a lot of injury risk. But if you look at my team, it seems like everybody's fit. I remember a week or 2 ago when I brought Jimenez into my team, I specifically was looking between Bamford and Jimenez. And even back then, there was rumors of Bamford possibly being injured. He still played the following weekend, so everyone thought those rumors were just false. And now this weekend, confirmed out. So I'm really happy with my decision to keep Jimenez in my team. Plays 90 minutes, and he's going to get on the end of something really soon. And I can't wait for that. It's going to be a very relieving moment when I've been proved right to keep him and kept my faith in him. So I'm quite happy with the team on paper as it is right now. Nobody's playing particularly difficult fixtures, actually. The only big hitter is Torres versus Chelsea. Chelsea's defense is quite good, and that is probably the only reason why he's on the bench. Livramento is an option, but I'm still going to keep Torres as my first option on the bench, because he's playing centrally striker for City. He can always score goals. So if someone like Trent still is feeling ill and doesn't play, Torres can come into the team. But otherwise, I'm very happy with this team. Ronaldo as captain at home. Keep it basic, don't overthink it. The big hitter, the premium hitter that's playing at home against the weaker side, stick to that. That's what I should have done last week with Salah. Luckily, Pepperlet made that Torres didn't play a single minute, and Salah got the captaincy anyway. But now I'm just going to stick it safe. Keep Ronaldo against Villa at home. It's the safer pick. But that is locked in the team for this week. Sanchez and Duffy double up. White, Trent, Semedo in defense. Jota and Salah double up in midfield with Sarr against Newcastle. Antonio, Jimenez, who's going to score 2 goals. Said it last week, but this week I have to up it up. If he doesn't score this weekend, then the following week he's going to score 3. We're having a lottery system here for Jimenez. No, I'm teasing, but I back him. I fully back Jimenez and Ronaldo as captain to finish off and scoring 3 games in a row for Man United. That's it from me. Enjoy the footy. Enjoy the weekend. Let's hope that City pulls it off. Take care, guys.